All right, everybody, Michael Cohen here with you on the Sports Talk Nation. We got a lot to discuss, obviously, as Robert Saleh, now no longer the coach of the New York Jets. Folks, I literally just basically got off the plane from London, attending a game between the Jets and the Minnesota Vikings, and I got a lot of stuff that I could show you, and I'm going to show you obviously here on the channel. But this video, before this news came down early in the morning on Tuesday, was going to be a little bit of a different video, kind of similar from the standpoint of talking mostly about the game on Sunday and whether this Jets team, whether their season was basically over at this point when you consider the schedule that's ahead of them and the way they have been playing football lately, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and whether that was going to be a crossroads, that game against Minnesota. Well, guess what? It turns out it absolutely was, and it certainly was the final straw for Jets owner Woody Johnson, who decided to pull the plug on head coach Robert Saleh, firing him this morning, Tuesday morning, and really stunning everybody. And it's stunning not because Robert Saleh got fired. It's stunning because the Jets never, ever, ever in their history, especially with Woody Johnson as the owner, his 25 years as the owner of this team, has he ever fired a head coach in season. And this is a team that's had coaches that have been on the chopping block, whether it be Rex Ryan, whether it be Eric Mangini, whether it be Todd Bowles, whether it be Adam Gase. And you can make the case at any one of those points during the tenures of those coaches that the pressure was ratcheted up to the nth degree and made a lot of people wonder whether a move would be made on them during an in-season potential firing, and that never came to pass. Jets always made their moves after the season. Well, this, of course, was just too much to bear for Woody Johnson. Just the fact that a standpoint, as he pointed out in his own press conference, that he feels this is the best collection of talent that he has had in his entire tenure as owner. The fact that the Jets got embarrassed in London, England, a country where Johnson was the ambassador for the United States in the UK for 4 years during the Trump administration, the first Trump administration anyway. That, I'm sure, was an embarrassment to him. And then you add on top of that, if the Jets go into Monday night's game against Buffalo, which is going to be huge regardless of who the head coach is, and they got embarrassed by the Buffalo Bills, who were on a 2-game losing streak themselves, on Monday Night Football in a packed MetLife Stadium with everybody booing his football team, he didn't want to even think about it. I guarantee that's part of it. And he decided to make the move. Now, of course, throughout the day, there's been all kinds of rumors and reports and speculation about what went down between the Jets and Robert Saleh. And from what we understand, and what I understand just in reading all the tweets that have been going out, whether it be from Connor Hughes or whether it be from other beat reporters, Rich Cimini, that the Jets and Robert Saleh met early Tuesday morning, and Johnson decided to make the move to fire Robert Saleh by himself. That he had consulted with General Manager Joe Douglas and made the move, and that, quote-unquote, and we'll get to this in just a moment here, Aaron Rodgers, quote-unquote, was not involved. Now, we'll get into more of that in just a moment. Then you have the rumors that Saleh was escorted out of the building, and that was kind of refuted, but not totally refuted to a degree, that he had to be escorted after the fact. He did have some, I guess it's tradition, in the NFL, to have some form of escort or security help them out of the building at that point, but it wasn't as aggressive as was initially reported. There was also the story that the Jets or that head coach, Robert Saleh, was considering a move of changing up this offense and getting rid of offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, if not demoting him out of play calling duties and giving the play calling duties to Todd Downing. Now, of course, before Saleh could even make that move happen, he gets the axe instead, and Nathaniel Hackett survives. Now, whether that means Hackett will still be the offensive play caller, that's up in the air. And I found it interesting, and I'm going to play the audio from Jeff Ulbrich's press conference, as he's going to take over as the interim head coach, that when posed by the question of what he's going to do with this offense, he says, well, all things are on the table, which makes it many different things. Maybe Nathaniel Hackett will still be the play caller. Maybe he won't be. Maybe it will be Todd Downing. Maybe he won't be. This is also the same guy, Jeff Ulbrich, who said that in that same press conference about having to handle both play calling duties for the defense and stepping back into a more, as he put it, global position as the head coach, saying all things are on the table. So that's his key phrase. We're going from all gas, no brake with Robert Saleh to now all things on the table with Jeff Ulbrich. Now, I don't know what kind of head coach Jeff Ulbrich's going to be. And this is going to be an opportunity for him to truly audition for this role. Now, it's very hard for interim, it doesn't happen often, for interim head coaches to get the job full-time. There are cases in point where it does work out. Look at Antonio Pierce with the Las Vegas Raiders. Takes over around midseason last year. That team plays extremely well for him down the stretch. He kind of hangs around in the playoff race a little bit, but doesn't obviously didn't get in. He gets the job as head coach going into this season. Now the Raiders, of course, are still very much a mess. Whether it's all his fault or not, I don't think that's fair at all to say. But that's an example of an interim head coach getting the job on a full-time basis. That doesn't happen very often. So for these 12 games that we have here for the rest of the year, it is now no longer, in my mind anyway, about Super Bowl or bust. It is now about whether this team can get to the playoffs with an aging 40-year-old quarterback who clearly has shown deterioration in his play. I mean, look at the throws that he made or tried to make in that game against the Vikings just on Sunday. 3 interceptions. It was the 6th time in his career he's had a 3-interception game. He threw 2 first-quarter interceptions for the first time ever in his entire career. The first one, he misread the play, and Andrew Van Ginkel picked him off and ran coast to coast into the end zone for a touchdown. The second one, he just lobbed over the head. I believe it was Garrett Wilson was the intended receiver. I was in the end zone when that throw happened, and as soon as I saw the ball kind of whiz out of his hands, out of Rodgers' hands, like, oh no, that's going to get picked off, and it did. And then, of course, the last throw in the fourth quarter with the Jets driving, trying to get that late touchdown. Rodgers instead throws the ball short over the intended receiver, Mike Williams, and it gets picked off. And that's how that game, as we all know, came to an end against the Vikings. There are a lot of problems with that Jet team and this Jet offense. And while you want to say Saleh in some ways is responsible because he's the head coach, that's obvious. I understand that. But it's not all on him. He's not in control. He can't be blamed for the fact that this offensive line isn't blocking well. They can't run the football at all. Breece Hall had only what was it, 23 yards or something like that? 23 yards on 15 carries against the Vikings. And less than that against the Denver Broncos. He's looked totally lost. Only 4 yards against the Broncos. He's looked lost the last several weeks. Even Braylon Allen, who looked so great in the first couple of weeks of the season, isn't doing much now. They can't block. They can't run block. And they certainly can't pass block right now. Rodgers under duress. The play where Rodgers gets badly injured. Tweaks that ankle again on a play where he has to hurry to throw. And as a result, takes a long amount of time, as you see right here on this. Just so funny to be 6 rows up from this play in the end zone in Tottenham Stadium. And to see him go down like that, writhing in pain and slowly trying to get up, you're thinking, oh no, here we go again. Is it the Achilles? Is it the ankle that he tweaked last week against Denver? It's not good. He is hurt. He's 40 plus years old. He's irritable. He is just having absolutely the worst year of his entire career right now as Aaron Rodgers. And you got an offense that does not score, that does not complete its assignments properly in any regard as far as their scheme is concerned. Is that all on the head coach? Obviously, the buck stops there. Obviously, I understand that. But what about the assistant coaches? What about Nathaniel Hackett? What about Kevin Carter, the offensive line coach? What about Todd Downing, who's also in the passing game coordinator? What about Aaron Rodgers? Where's the blame on those guys? And, yeah, even the defense. Look, Sam Darnold for the Vikings didn't do much in that game on Sunday. 14 out of 31, threw a pick. Could have thrown a couple if, Sauce Gardner didn't drop one, obviously. But that defense gives up a chunk of yards. They allow teams to do whatever the heck they want between the 20s. They don't always get into the end zone, but they do allow teams to get down very close. And that's on Jeff Ulbrich as well. So that's the challenge that right now faces Jeff Ulbrich and this coach and this entire Jet football team the rest of the way. Can they make something out of a season that appears to be completely and totally falling apart? If he is able to reasonably go 7-5 and get this team to a respectable 9-8 record, or maybe 8-4, and maybe the Jets somehow find a way in a crowded, very mediocre AFC. And really, you take a look at the NFL right now, outside of the two surprise teams in the league, Washington and Minnesota, there is no team, not one, that's playing great football right now. Not one. Cincinnati's bad. The Baltimore Ravens have been average. Buffalo's been average. Even Houston, despite their 3-1 record, is kind of 4-1 record is kind of not that great. Kansas City, they're 5-0, but it's not a great 5-0. There's no real, true top dog in the NFL this year. And that's why the Jets, I guess, if you're Woody Johnson, you wanted to make that move. So let's see what the Jets can do. If Jeff Ulbrich can go 8-4 in the next 12 weeks and get this team on a wild card, then he will have earned the right to be the head coach moving forward. Anything less than that, well, it's up for debate. I say 7-5, depending on how that 7-5 looks, we can have that discussion. But anything less than that, the Jets are looking for another head coach, most likely. And I think if you, depending on all these reports, because I saw a report that said here on X by one of these NFL insiders that Joe Douglas was only consulted after Woody Johnson pretty much made up his mind what he was going to do. You certainly have to think that Joe Douglas, who despite one great draft in 2022, is certainly on notice at this point. So if this season goes straight down the drain, as it looks like it's going to here this season, it's going to be a full house cleaning. Guarantee it. Full house cleaning. Come December and January. And you can talk about Aaron Rodgers and say, well, what's his influence? Did he have a factor in the Jets making sure that they fired Robert Saleh and not Nathaniel Hackett? You want to sit there, if you want to believe the post that's been put out there by, who is this individual? By IB, the Gambler on X, that last night meeting took place with Woody Johnson and Jeff Ulbrich and an unidentified Jet player on the phone, that Joe Douglas got the update on the situation about 15 minutes before officially firing Saleh. If you want to believe that, then Aaron Rodgers is very much in play in what's going on. Now, I don't know if I really want to believe that. And keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers also, 6 years ago, remember when Mike McCarthy got fired in season in 2018 with the Green Bay Packers? A lot of people thought that the relationship between Rodgers and McCarthy had deteriorated to the point that Rodgers wanted him out as well. And that's what led to that firing. Rodgers, of course, denied it. The Packers denied it. But a lot of people feel and believed at the time that Rodgers had an influence. So if that's true, if we want to sit there and believe that Aaron Rodgers had an influence on Robert Saleh getting fired, then you could sit there and say the turning point of all of this was that day in Week 3 on Thursday night, when Robert Saleh tried to bring in Aaron Rodgers for an embrace after the Jets scored a touchdown against the Patriots. And Rodgers pushes him back and says, no, it's early. And then had a very annoyed look on his face as he walked away. That might have been the turning point. of all this. And what has led us down this path to Robert Saleh getting a pink slip the moment he walks in the door as the Jets begin their preparation for the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football this upcoming week. We'll see how this thing breaks out here for the Jets, but their season is definitely on the brink. I was going to do a video, as I said a few moments ago, that this was going to be a season that's on the brink. Well, now it is one way or the other. And we're going to learn whether this team has the wherewithal, the resiliency to unite, pick up the pieces, and get the job done, or whether this is going to continue to deteriorate and fall apart threadbare to the end of the season. As far as the trip to the United Kingdom and getting over there to see the game, Mike, what a wonderful, wonderful experience that was. When the schedule came out in May that the Jets will be playing in London, England this year, I wanted to jump on it. I went to Vegas last year. Really was curious about how the games looked over there in the UK, and always wanted to go over there. And I really wanted to see what that was all about, and man, it was just a phenomenal trip. It was an eye-opening experience. They give you the tours with On Location. They give you the tours with Westminster Abbey as well as Windsor Castle. Of course, you see all the other great sites that are out there with regards to the United Kingdom, whether driving through Piccadilly Circus and all that it has to offer as far as the historic perspective of that part of the world and that incredible city. It was an absolutely mesmerizing, eye-opening experience for me. The game itself and the experience of the game, incredible. The fans are off the wall. I will say, though, this. I was a little bit disappointed, and I know that there are small patches of Jet fan groups here and there in the UK, and obviously the UK Jets Twitter page, they're huge out there. But I thought there'd be more Jet fans in the building on Sunday. It was, I would say, 80 to 20, maybe 75-25 Viking fans to Jet fans on Sunday afternoon. It was scheduled as a Viking home game, and it felt like a Viking home game, literally and figuratively. There were a lot of Viking fans that came to that game on Sunday afternoon. And again, the atmosphere, even in spite of that, was absolutely phenomenal. To be just that close to the field, an incredible environment as well. I really absolutely enjoy that. And I'm going to say this here. Look, I know a lot of fans like to spike the football on the NFL having games in the UK, and I understand, it takes away a home game, and, how can the NFL do this? We pay a ton of money, and I totally understand this, a ton of money on season tickets, and you have one game taken away every once in a while. I get that. That sucks. I understand. But this is just such a unique experience to go overseas, see a part of the world that maybe you don't always see, and to experience that culture, and then have a football game on top of that. Man, I don't know how you don't take advantage of that. You have to take advantage of that. If you haven't done it already, I recommend you do it. Whether obviously the Jets are done with their trip overseas, but whatever the game, if you want, I know they got a couple more games this year in London already this week with the Jaguars and the Bears and the Jaguars and the Patriots. But if you're thinking, next year or next season or whatever, consider it. I'm dead serious. You have to consider it because it is an incredible, incredible experience. And I can't wait to go back. I'm gonna do it again, whether it be for football or not. I want to go back to the UK and check it out even more. So, folks, leave your thoughts below. Like and subscribe. How do you feel about the Robert Saleh situation breaking down here as his tenure as head coach of the New York Jets comes to a close? We'll see how this works on Monday night. Leave your thoughts below. Who knows what else could break out as far as news is concerned. Hey, at least we have the Mets, right? It's a party right now at Citi Field. Grimace, the fans. It's crazy. Leave your thoughts below. We'll talk to you next time.
greatest experience was with the New York Jets. You guys remember that year, 2015, was so legendary, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Nick Mango, all of those guys. But here you go. I didn't understand, hey listen, we're Fireman Ed. We need Fireman Ed at this thing.
Yes, we do.
Like, I didn't understand how powerful that was. We were playing against the Cleveland Browns. We were at MetLife, and it was my first game as a Jet. And then it wasn't Fireman Ed. Remember, he took a little hiatus. He was mad. Remember? Y'all remember? But we had someone step in, and that JETS chant, I was like, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah,
right?
That's
so,
right.
Right now, we're outnumbered. The Vikings they're powerful. We just saw that, right? We got to redeem ourselves because we're going to take all this energy into the stadium for the game. So right now, the score is 21-17, the Vikings. Okay? Are you ready? All right, here we go. All right, so you sure? Do we want this guy representing us? Jets, are y'all ready? Do you want this guy representing you? All right, here we go. Let's go. You ready? Yeah!